Hey everyone, let's take a look at Metallica's really cool cover of So What, which is originally released by the Anti-Nowhere League. We're in standard tuning today, and unlike my other Metallica tutorials, this one will be pretty quick and easy. There's not a lot going on in this one since it was originally a punk tune, so it's staying true to that vein and only has a couple of really main riffs in it that we have to learn, plus the solo. So for all of you that are learning Metallica's entire catalog along with me, this will be a nice little break for you where you might not have to practice quite so hard on this one. So here we go. So What starts off with 2 repetitions of the main hook riff. The hook riff is 4 measures long. We play it twice, so we start off with 8 measure intro. We're going to start with a G power chord sliding up to A. So 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the bottom string. And now we just stay on that A. Okay. Now hit a low E palm mute and repeat this G to A slide. Okay, and now, once we get there, we're going to speed up the rate of those slides. Okay, so nice and slow, that first 4 measures looks like this. Okay, and now we can just start with an E palm mute and repeat that rhythm exactly as we just learned it, because it's just the second repetition of that riff. You'll notice that the very last measure, we just fill it up with an A. So that very last measure is just 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then we're gonna get into our verse. So I'll play the whole intro really nice and slow for you, and then we'll do the verse. The verse progression is really simple. We're just going to be chugging on a D power chord, 5th fret of the A string, and we're just going to chug on that for 4 measures and then a repetition of the main riff. So we just stab that for 1 beat. So 1, and then just start filling up with 8th notes, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you're going to do 2 measures with a nice palm mute on, and then starting on the 3rd measure, gradually take the palm mute off. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, so just make sure that you come out of that at the right time. It's on the upbeat of beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then we're into the second line of the verse, which is exactly the same as the first. So it's really just 8 measures that repeats there. So I'll play that really nice and slow, and then we'll talk about fills, because the first verse is played just straight, 2 repetitions of the same thing. And then in verse 2, 3, and 4, we have a little fill that happens at the end of the second line going into the chorus. So we'll talk about what those fills are. But here's just the basic verse 1 progression played nice and slow for you. Okay, and that's where the chorus is going to come in. Now, the little fills that we have, they're buried kind of in the mix. They're not super prominent, so if you haven't really listened to the track, you might not have even heard them really in there, but they are in there. And I'll just point out where they are first of all. So they're in the second line. So we're going to play the first line starting in verse 2. We just play the first line the same. Now the second line. Okay, right there. So the very last measure of the chugging on D in the verses is where those fills come in. So the second line, fourth measure of D. Now the first fill that you hear, it's the most complicated one. We're going to stick in, so we do 3 measures of chugging on D. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then on beat 4, just palm mute an open D string because you have to give yourself time to get to this fill where we're going to fret the 7th frets on the G and the B, and I use my 3rd and 4th fingers, and then you hit them and bend release and pull off to the 5th fret and then come down, and I just hit the 5th fret on the G, so I'm really just pulling my 3rd finger off to sound that G string for the pull off, and then come down to the 7th fret on the D, and then barred 7th frets on G and B, and the barred 5th frets on the G and B. Okay, so that's, and then you can get your palm mute in there and get out into that main riff. So the timing is for on that chugging on D, we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, so it's really quick. When it's up to speed, you have to be really fast, like really fast with the whole bend, release, pull off. It happens really fast. Okay, so that's the most complicated fill that you hear. The next one that you hear is much easier. Okay, so we're going to do 3 measures of chugging on D again, and then right on beat 1 we palm mute the 7th fret on A, and then bar the D and the G, come back to the palm muted A string, 7th fret, and the bar 5th frets on D and G again. You just do that twice. And then out of that into the main riff. So up to speed, that's going to look like this. Okay, and one more fill that we have in the 4th verse sounds like this. Okay, so again, it's not too difficult to pull off. A lot of double stops here. We're going to start again on beat 1, so it's right on the downbeat of that measure 4 on the D chugging. And we're going to have barred 5th frets on D and G, barred 7th frets on D and G, back to the barred 5ths, and then grab that G and B on the 7th frets and just nudge them up a half a step each. You know, approximately. You don't have to be super exact with that because it is a punk song. You really just want that punk feel. And then into that main riff. So up to speed, that fill is going to sound like this. Okay, let's get into the chorus. The chorus section starts off with an F power chord and then a B flat power chord for a measure. Now, this was interesting to figure out because it's actually kind of hard to hear on the recording, but by watching live footage as well as listening to the rhythm underneath the solo, I was able to piece this together. The chorus riff happens towards the end of the solo, and without those vocals over top of it, it's easier to hear what's going on. So I was able to piece it together. Hetfield actually plays this a little bit different on the album than he does live. We'll go over what he does in both instances, but it is a little bit different. And another cool little thing to note is that this is a rare instance where Hetfield uses a 3-finger power chord. He typically just uses his first finger and his pinky to make power chords, but this is one of those rare times where he uses a 3-finger power chord. So I'll play Hetfield's part, how it appears on the album, and then we'll break that down. And we'll cover it also how he plays it live, and then we'll also cover Hammett's part. So here we go, Hetfield's chorus riff. And then we get into the verse again. So we're starting off with a measure of F and a measure of B flat. And like I said, he's fretting these as 3-string power chords. So hit the full 3 strings with the F, and then we're going to start arpeggiating. We pick these apart. So hit the 5th string, the 4th string, back to the 5th string, and then 2 hits on the full power chord again, right? So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and... Okay, so there's a little syncopation there where we're tying the downbeat of beat 3 to beat 2. So you have to feel some upbeats. 1, 2, and 4, and. Now we're gonna move up to the B flat, and we start off the same. We hit the full 3 strings, and then strings 4 and 3, and then just 4 full hits on the full chord. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. And then we just jump up and do a little bit of the main riff. We only have 2 measures here. 1, and then back down to the F. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. And then just repeat this. And then do the full main riff. And then we'll be into our verse again. Okay, now live, he plays pretty much the same thing, but he's just simplified the rhythm. The syncopation isn't there. He's really just playing quarter notes. If you're playing this live, and you just want to do what he does, then to simplify this and play what he plays, we're just going to do this. Okay, so start with your F, pick them apart. So just go up through strings 6, 5, 4. And then 2 hits on the full power chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then move up to the B flat and pick strings 5, 4, 3. But 3 hits on that power chord at the end. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay, so put that together. Okay, so that's Hetfield's live version. Now Hammett plays the same thing live as he did on the album. And his part is, again, arpeggiated type things, but he's basing his off of these full 6-string bar chords. So he starts with an F bar chord, and we're not gonna strum the whole thing. He doesn't strum these chords, all 6 strings. He just bases his line off of them. So you have to fret the chord to make this playable like he does. So we start with this F, and we're gonna move this up, same shape up to the 6th fret, B flat. Okay, so I'll just play it first and then we'll break it down. Okay, so all the main riffing is the same. It's really just the F and the B flat where he diverges from what Hetfield's doing. So what we do is we fret that F full 6-string bar chord, and we're going to hit the bottom 3 strings. And if you accidentally get the 4th string in there, it doesn't really matter. It's a very punk song, right? So you can just, it doesn't have to be super precise. And then, so we hit that on beat 1, and then we go up to the top 2 strings and just go back and forth between strings 2, 1, 2. Okay, so these are quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now, this is a little tricky thing. We're gonna slide this up while we hit the 6th fret. So we kind of get this sliding effect in there. Even though we're not hitting the chord, we're gonna get that slide in there. And once we're up at the 6th fret, we're gonna hit strings 1, 2, 3, back to 1. Okay, and again, just quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so nice and slow, his part. And then we're out of it into a verse. And also that's the same way that they get into the solo. And the solo is, the rhythm under that is just one repetition of the verse and one repetition of the chorus. Just go through that whole thing. And there's no fills, nothing fancy in there, just strictly play the rhythm through that. And you've got that. And then the only thing that we have to talk about is the outro. And the outro just tacks on one more G to A slide. And it actually ends on beat 3. So it's a little bit different than what we've been doing. So the outro, we come out of a chorus, and we come out of the chorus that same way where we're going. And then we just hold that out. And then when the time is right, we just go down, up, down on that A and slide it. Okay, there's the rhythm track. It's time to do lead. Hope you're loving this So What guitar lesson. A quick reminder to hit subscribe and like if you want to learn every Metallica track from every studio album. We're going through their entire catalog, learning them exactly as they were played. Check out more tracks from some of your favorite artists by clicking in the playlists found in the description. And let's get back into the solo. We'll just take this solo phrase by phrase. The first phrase of 4 measures sounds like this. Okay, so it starts off really quite simple, and you can really tell the punk influence. Hammett was really trying to keep that punk feel in this track for sure. So we're gonna start off bar the 10th frets on the 2 high strings and the 12th fret on the G string. And we've got this little unison bend here between the 10th fret on B and the 12th fret being bent up, right? They're both A notes. So it's kind of a cool little punk move here. So we start off by hitting all 3 strings and bending that 12th fret. And then we just hit the barred 10th frets. Come down to the barred 7th frets on the top 2 strings and slide them back up to the 10th. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then we just are going to bounce back and forth between this G and the B unison bend and the top 2 strings barred at the 10th fret. Okay, and then we slide down that last bend on beat 4. We slide down and we get into our next phrase that sounds like this. Okay, so we're going to start with the 7th fret on the G string, bend that, and release down to the 5th fret. And then come down to the 7th fret on D. And then we're going to go bar the 5th fret on G and B. And now grab the 7th frets on the G and the B and hit that 4 times. And the 4th time you hit that, you're going to bend them both up. Okay. And then you're gonna do that twice more. You're gonna bend, release both of those. Come back to the barred 5th frets, down to D, the 7th fret. Back up to the barred 5th frets on G and B. Grab those 7th frets, bend them, and then hit them unbent and pull off to 5. And then down to the 7th fret on D again. And then barred 5ths, 7ths, and pull off again to the barred 5th frets. And then I just slide down with that, and I use my 2nd finger, just do a random slide to get back up into those barred 10th frets on the 2 high strings again. So nice and slow, that second phrase is going to go like this. And then we get into our next phrase. It's going to sound like this. Okay, so we start off just one whole measure of those barred 10th frets. Okay, now we come down, and this is really all based out of our D minor pentatonic shape here at the 10th fret for this next little bit. And we're gonna go 13 to 10 pull off on the B string, down to the 12th fret on G. Then down to 10 on G, 12 on D. Then back up to the 10 and 12 on G. Nudge that string up when you hit the 12th fret. And then 2 more bars on that 10th fret. Okay, and then we're gonna repeat this move, 13 to 10 pull off on the B string, coming down to 12 on G, back to 10 and 13 on the B string. And now we're gonna hit 10, hammer pull from 13, and then down to 12 on G again, and then down to 10 on G, 12 on D, and then back up to 10 and 12 on G. So pre-bend that 12th fret and release, and then 10, 12 on D. Okay, so that's that phrase, nice and slow. And again, we slide down and we get into the 5th position here, and we're gonna do this phrase. Okay, another pretty basic pentatonic lick. Bend and release. Back to that 5th fret. And then down to the 7th fret on D. Bar the G and B at the 5th fret, come down to the D 757. Okay, and then hit that 7th fret twice more. Barred 5th and frets on G and B, come down to that D string 7. And then we're gonna hit the 5th fret on G, and then bend the 7th fret up. Then there's gonna be a string skip here, up to the 5th fret on the high string. And then we come down to the 8th, pull off to 5 on B, down to the 7th on G, and then 5 on G, 7 on D, and repeat that. Okay, so at the end. So that phrase, nice and slow, gonna look like this. Okay, getting there, second last phrase is gonna sound like this. Okay, so we finished that phrase before this down at the 5th position. So we have to do a big slide to 19 on the D string. And we're really just shifting up an octave. We kind of were fiddling around in this A minor pentatonic shape when we're going to be playing around with the same pattern, just an octave higher. So we're going to slide into the 19th fret on D, up to the 17th fret on G. Now, do a little pre-bend there again on the 19th fret, release down to the 17th fret, and then the 19th on D again. And so then we're going to repeat the 19th fret on D, 17, 19 on G, and then do that pre-bend release down to 17, and then the 20th fret on the B string. Okay, and now we're going to hit the 20th fret again. And we walk up the pentatonic scale, 20 on B, then 17 on E, and then we do 2 quick pull-offs from 20 to 17. And on the recording, that's really fast because those are 16th notes now, so you got to do those really fast. And then we walk back down the pentatonic scale, 20 and 17 on B, 19 and 17 on G, 19 on D, then 17 on G, bend 19 on G, then with your pinky, grab the 20th fret on B, and then hit them both together, and you're going to want to bend, release, bend. And then you can kind of give a little bit of vibrato too. So nice and slow, now that we've talked about it, that phrase sounds like this. Last phrase, it's a little bit bigger. We're gonna do 6 measures to complete this off, and the rest of it's gonna sound like this. Okay, so this phrase starts off the same as our last one that we had before it. We're bend that 19th fret, release down to 17, come down to 19 on D. Walk back up and do that bend release up to the 20th fret. So that's all the exact same as what we just had a second ago. And then we go 20-17 on that B string, come down to 19 on the G, and then hit the 19th fret again, bend it, and then I use my pinky on the 19th fret on B, and I start bending both of those strings. Okay, and you're gonna do that a total of 5 times. You bend just 19th fret on G to start this, and then grab both those strings. Okay, now to finish this off, 17th fret on G, come down to the D string, 19, 17, 19, bar the G and B strings at the 17th fret, back to the 19th fret on D, and then those bar G and Bs again, up to the 19th fret on G. And now, this is super fast too on the recording, you can hardly even hear all 3 notes, but he's just pulling off between 20, 19, and 17. Just super quick little pull off. Then down to the 19th fret on the D, 17th fret on G, down to that 19th fret on D, and then end with a little grace note hammer back to that 19th fret. So you're gonna hit 17 on D and just quickly hammer and slide that note. So now that we've talked about that phrase, it goes like this, nice and slow. So there's Metallica's cover of So What. Hope you guys had a blast learning it. See, told you it's not too bad. You only got 2 or 3 main riffs there, right? Plus the solo, but I'm sure you can handle it. So keep on rocking and let's get to another song soon.